Preface: Emma is now 26 years old and still claims that this story happened to her in reality, but her friends and experts think otherwise. After this incident, she couldn't live and sleep normally, and when she turned to a psychiatric clinic, she was diagnosed as mentally ill. Although we, like many others, presume that this story, which happened to Emma, is untrue, we will still recount it to you. The night wrapped the cemetery in its dark embrace, like a thick shroud descending upon the earth. A group of teenagers, armed with nothing but their excitement and flashlights, navigated through the dark alleys, surrounded by forgotten graves and silent trees. The flickering light of their torches danced uneasily on their faces, almost as if foreshadowing the impending horrors that awaited them. Among them strode Emma, a brave and determined girl who often impressed her friends with her reckless courage. She led this intrepid expeditionary squad, convincing her companions that encountering ghosts and spirits would be an exhilarating adventure they would reminisce about for years to come. Little did they know that on this particular night, they would not only encounter otherworldly terrors, but also a deadly danger lurking in the shadows, waiting to ensnare them. As the teenagers made their way through the rows of graves, their laughter gradually faded into uneasy silence. Eventually, they halted before one of the oldest graves, marked by a weathered and tattered cross. "He should be here," Emma whispered, a shiver coursing down her spine. A fleeting figure darted through the darkness, and a grim silhouette emerged from behind an ancient monument, as if summoned from the depths of the night itself. Emma's heart skipped a beat as their gazes locked. It was a man, his eyes ablaze with an unfathomable intensity. "Who are you?" Emma demanded, her voice tinged with a mixture of curiosity and trepidation. "I am the one who dwells in darkness," his voice reverberated through the night, sending a chill down their spines. "And you have strayed from your path, venturing into my domain." The teenagers stood rooted to the spot, transfixed by a sense of foreboding. They watched in stunned silence as the man approached the nearest grave and began to dig. The earth yielded under his hands, parting like a living entity to reveal its dark and mysterious depths. "What are you doing?" Emma's voice trembled with a mixture of fear and fascination. "I am merely carrying out my work," the man replied, his tone devoid of emotion. "For everything in this world has its price, and the dead are no exception." With each passing moment, the atmosphere grew increasingly tense, mirroring the growing unease in Emma's heart. And then, in a macabre display, the man raised something above his head, a human skull, its hollow socket staring vacantly into the abyss. The teenagers recoiled in horror, their minds struggling to comprehend the scene unfolding before them. Ignoring their pleas, the man commenced a series of arcane rituals, uttering incantations in a language long forgotten, invoking powers beyond mortal comprehension. Emma and her friends were paralyzed with fear, unable to tear their eyes away from the unfolding spectacle. And then, as if in response to the man's dark invocation, the ground beneath them began to tremble. They turned in horror to see shadows emerging from the depths of the graves, the restless spirits of the dead summoned forth by the man's unholy rites. Panic gripped their hearts as they realized the gravity of their situation. They screamed and scrambled to escape, but an unseen force held them captive, rooted to the spot as the malevolent spirits drew closer, their eyes gleaming with an otherworldly malice. In their darkest hour, when all hope seemed lost, Emma found within herself a reservoir of courage she never knew she possessed. With a defiant cry, she uttered a powerful incantation, a desperate plea for salvation, drawn from the pages of a long-forgotten tome of arcane lore. And in that moment, as her words echoed through the night, a blinding flash of light engulfed the cemetery, banishing the darkness and dispersing the malevolent spirits back to the depths from whence they came. As the light faded and the darkness receded, Emma and her friends found themselves standing amidst the ruins of their ordeal, shaken but alive. and though the memory of that fateful night would haunt their dreams for years to come, they emerged from the darkness with a newfound appreciation for the fragility of life and the enduring power of the human spirit. But their ordeal was far from over. As they made their way through the cemetery, they discovered that they were not alone. A presence lingered in the shadows, watching their every move with malevolent intent. The air grew thick with tension as they pressed onward, their senses heightened to the slightest sound or movement. And then, just when they thought they were safe, they heard the sound of footsteps echoing through the darkness, drawing closer with each passing moment. They turned to flee, but it was too late. Emerging from the shadows was a figure clad in tattered rags, its face obscured by darkness. With a guttural growl, it lunged at them, its movements fluid and unnaturally fast. Emma and her friends fought desperately to defend themselves, but the creature was relentless, its strength fueled by an unholy rage. They stumbled and fell, their cries drowned out by the deafening silence of the night. Just when all seemed lost, Emma remembered the ancient incantation she had uttered earlier, the same incantation that had saved them from the spirits of the dead. With a trembling voice, she spoke the words once more, calling upon the forces of light to banish the creature back to the depths of hell. A blinding light erupted from her outstretched hands, engulfing the creature in its radiant embrace. With a final scream of agony, it vanished into thin air, leaving behind only a lingering sense of dread. As the light faded and the darkness reclaimed the cemetery, Emma and her friends breathed a sigh of relief. Though they had narrowly escaped with their lives, they knew that they would never forget the horrors they had witnessed that night. But as they made their way out of the cemetery, they couldn't shake the feeling that something lingered in the shadows, watching, waiting for its next opportunity to strike. And so, they vowed to never return to that accursed place again, lest they awaken something far more sinister than they could ever imagine.